This is a big day for us Greeks historically. I've made a video before. I think once or twice revolving around this topic, but I wanted to, given the times we live in, I wanted to elaborate on a couple of things that maybe I hadn't on the previous ones. I do want to warn you that this is not a 5-minute video. It's not going to be a very short one. It's not going to be a very long one, but we'll see where it goes. So if you want a little food for thought and maybe give me your thoughts on this, bookmark it, put it on the side when you have time, grab a coffee, sit down and have a listen. So happy 28th of October to all my Greeks, to all the Greeks out there, and to all those that appreciate, especially to those that appreciate, those that fought for us, died for us to have certain freedoms, which we are voluntarily giving away. And anyways, this video is about the value of resistance, okay? It won't be too long, but have a listen, you know? We live in a 5-second scroll, generation today, and I think even our generation has become like that, where our attention span doesn't last more than like a quick few seconds before you start scrolling, and you can't get any information that way. This is why people have more opinions than they have knowledge, you know? So this is the value of resistance. This is what I tell my students at the school, and it's also for my students too, so they can understand. Okay, I'm gonna use the October 28th day for us, which is the day that we celebrate ΟΧΙ, which means no, right? Now this is the day where, for those that are not very familiar, this is the day where the Greeks said no to Mussolini's fascists, because not all Italians, shared Mussolini's thoughts, and not all Italians fought for Mussolini, and many Italians were victims of Mussolini. For those that know history, they'll understand that. For those that don't know history, they throw the baby out with the bathwater. So this is the day where the Greeks said no, you cannot pass through. Now, before that, just a little history, very fast. This is not the first time. Every country has the right to maintain and sustain its sovereignty over itself. Now, here's the thing: from a much more broader level to a smaller level. If you at any time, concede to, handing over what you have, it's no longer yours. Understand that, right? This is historical. And even more so today through contracts of signature. They bind you. Now, back in the day, we heard the famous molon lave, which is, molon lave, like the English, the non-Greeks say, which is come and get them. If you want our weapons, when Xerxes told them to drop their weapons and join them, and they offered them a whole bunch of different, prizes and stuff if they joined their army, like freedom and superiority over the rest of the Greeks and blah blah blah. The Leonidas said no. You want them? Come and get them. They said no. Fast forward. During Constantine the Great, when the Turks came in and wanted to come in and take the city, they sent them a letter and they said, listen, yada yada yada, we'll give you all the gold and whatever, just let us come in and we won't harm anybody, but if you don't, we are going to whatever came after. And he said, and he wrote them back a letter, a very polite letter, that said, I can't do that, I won't do that. This city belongs to the people of the city. It doesn't belong to me. You know, it belongs to those that live in here. Now, what they said, the people that lived in the city, when he went to them and asked them and told them, well, listen, because they were very rich people that lived in Constantinople back then, very rich Greeks. And he asked them for money, and they all said, you know, no. And he said, well, listen, if he comes in, he's going to slaughter you and take your money. Whereas this way, we can take your money, go and get the weapons that we need and the resources that we need to fight these guys, and eventually you'll get your money back, you know. They said no. Well, guess what happened? Now it's called Istanbul. So now he said no to them. He replied and said, no, I can't do that. I won't do that. And even if you do take the city, it is our duty for every Greek to resist you. That went with the rest of Greece, and the call to resist went on and goes on for every country. Every country. Fast forward to the Balkan Wars, the Greeks said, no, you cannot go through against the, in First World War, Second World War, they said, no, you cannot go through. The only time that somebody allowed the enemy to walk on their ground was during the just before the Turkish occupation of Cyprus, when the Greek Cypriot Patriot, decided to invite the Turks in. Now, once you do that, now whether it was done on purpose, knowing where it was going to go or not, you've invited them in. They can come up with the story that they have, gaslight the whole world and maintain, ownership of that place. Now, that place is not theirs, but they've been allowed in. And when the Greeks and the Cyprians did decide to fight, well, it was too late, because they had been given the green light by the priest to do, to come in. This is what happens when you invite somebody and you hand over your freedoms to people. This is why resistance is so important. If you voluntarily give up, because nobody, usually people will warn you before in a country, and an invading force sometimes will warn you, sometimes they won't. It's a surprise attack. Now they're warning you. Now they're using, CNN and all the rest of the clown media, and they have to literally. It's like a play-by-play, a sports, a sporting event. It's like the Super Bowl. This country is gonna attack that country soon, and we're sitting back and watching this stuff and going, really? It's a play-by-play. I mean, am I living in the Truman Show? I mean, what is this? So, if at any time you decided to give up your land, you can never ask for that back. This is the problem with giving up your freedom on your own voluntarily. If any one of those old, and this goes for any country, not just ours, this is why people are fighting, and this is why resistance is important. And this is what, we have to be careful with what we say today, because, social media networks will take it down, because it's not nice to speak about freedoms and certain freedoms and individual freedoms, as far as down to the individual freedom. It's not just the freedom of the society and the country itself, because the country represents the people, the people's faith, their families, their culture, their history, and so on and so forth. This is what it's about. This is what they're guarding, and everybody has the right to that. Every country has the right to that, and every people have the right to that. But even in this country here, we have to be careful with what we say on YouTube, because if we sound like we're tooting, freedom, especially intrinsic freedom, especially the basic principles of freedom, you can get struck down and erased from YouTube. I mean, imagine, eh? So right there and then, that tells you how much freedom you have. So why resistance is very important, and I teach this to my kids. And the studies have been done in the last 100 years on us human beings as to how we respond to certain stimulus. Okay, they've been doing this to us for a long time. And they haven't been doing it for the better of us. They've been doing this to see how they can control a society. A lot of the psychological, experiments that they did on human beings were more or less nefarious. Very few were actually good. for the betterment of us. The majority were, to see how we respond, how we are, how we act, to certain stimulus. And it showed by, certain things that have happened in the recent years that we do not cherish our self-preservation in the right context. We cherish more, and they know this, we cherish more our creature comforts more than we cherish that which is our own very lives, our health, our lives, our culture, our faith, our beliefs. We will easily give up our freedoms for the sake of creature comforts than for that which is much more important, which is our principle, our lives, our health, our faith, our beliefs, the ability to teach our kids these cultures. Yes, I understand we live in Canada, but you see, Canada was founded on immigrants, and while there is a societal law, a lot of these societal laws now are infringing upon personal liberties. And societal laws are good. Red light, you can't go. Stop sign, this, you can't murder, you can't steal. Those are based on biblical, moral, objective morals. That's what it is, objective morals, and that's what everybody should. But when you surpass that, now you're telling me how to worship my faith and what I can say and what I can't say. Now I totally understand, and let's not go there for the for the ignorant and say, well, something, if your religion is about killing you, so no. Well, if your religion is about killing you, then it affects society. We're not going to that, and you can't use that. I mean, that's like a lame thing. We're talking about generalities. Canada and the U.S. has been founded on immigrants, and immigrants have been living here for many, many years. And the only real natives here and real Canadians are the Indians, and they're leaders, not they, to the disgust and dismay to the people themselves. Their leaders gave up their freedoms, gave up their people's freedoms, hence giving up countries. But it was intended to be that way because bankers were just very powerful. At some point, it was going to happen. So this is what happens when you give it away, sign it away. You cannot ask for it back. It's a fight to get it back. And you're going to fight who today? Here, even in the States. Who are you going to fight? But these are the only natives here. This is the real natives. The rest of us are all immigrants. So we live in a society by which we go under societal rules, and then we have to also, the smarter people will look to say, we don't want certain liberties infringed upon. You can't tell me how to worship my faith as long as my faith does not hurt anybody else. And, once we, and this is where there's, good law and bad law. There's, where they start using generalities and gaslighting for, stuff like, hate crimes and hate speech. And this is Marxism. And if people don't know history and don't know Marxism, well, you're doomed to be a part of that, and you're doomed to be a victim of it. And this is where you naturally gave up any ability to study a little bit of history, not much history, a little bit of history, especially modern history, 20th century, and more 20th century than 21st century, because we just got into the 21st, but everything laid out in the 20th, 19th and 20th century, okay? And this is where things happened. And this is the things in the worst way that changed the world in the worst way, not in the best way, in the worst way. It doesn't take a lot, especially today with what's out there. You can find so much information that it can be overwhelming, but the information is there. The first thing I was taught was, look who the author is, what is his belief system, and then you choose whether you want to go on. And sometimes even those that are nefarious is good to read, because even they themselves will tell you exactly what's going on, right? So here's what happens. You basically give up, your right to your land, to your culture, to your house, to any of your property. you cannot ask for it back. You voluntarily, and they know this, everybody knows this, and this is historical. You can't ask for it back. It's very hard. You have to fight for it back, and that time you are the bad guy now. Because the guy that took it from you will say, well, look, he gave it to me. And this goes down to the lowest level within society too. You allow somebody to, yeah, you can stay in there as long as you want. Stay in my place as long as you want. Yeah, no problem. Then a day comes and you go there, and you know people are doing that in Greece to their own people, you know. Whereas Greeks will will leave their family home that was made by their great grandfather, for example, come over here to Canada or the U.S. and it hasn't been occupied since they left, since they locked, and they go inside and they find people there, squatters, family squatters too, not just squatters, family squatters. And then they have even though there is no paper saying that I've allowed you to go there to live in there, they have a hard time getting them out. And the only reason they get them out is because there is no paper that says that I let you go in there. There's no contract between me and you. So you're illegally squatting in there. And even then, we're talking about this within family. Now imagine if you do, now this is happening in the States also. It could come over here too. I mean, these governments are shifting into something very, very left-centered. So, left-sided. So, whereas if you have a squatter, and how many military people, will leave, their home empty, go off to serve, and then come back, and people are living in there, and they're trying to get them out. We're talking about people working for the country, the military itself, and they have a hard time getting these people out. It's insanity. But these squatters, by law, should be out. I mean, nope. But they're creating fine lines where now they're saying, no, I've been living here long enough, and that's it. Unheard of stuff that, a few years ago would have landed them, in a very small diameter space. If not, if not at the very least, in a hospital. But this is where we are today, and this is why resistance is very important. But you need to have the cojones, for resistance. The minute you start giving away any part of your personal things, you given voluntarily, your right to worship, your right to anything, especially any land. And this is why governments today are not taking care of the land of their people, and this is why our grandfathers went to war, because they still believed, to them it was unheard of that they would put all their differences aside and then go and protect that which represented their faith, their family, and their country, their land. That's the order it went in. Faith, hyper pistos ke patris, not hyper patris ke pistos. You can't change that. And this is how those guys were, for faith and country. And country meant family, our faith in there, our culture, our everything in there. But it was faith first, right? For us Greeks it was, at least. For us Orthodox Christians. Now, and this is the problem with today's generation and lack of understanding, is that they've been duped into believing that the creature comforts and the materials is more important than that which belongs to you. And if you'd ask most of them what belongs to you, they wouldn't know. They'd say, my phone, and my car, and my house, and that's what belongs to me. And while they're right, those are exogenous things that belong to them. Their ability to resist, they have none. Very few do. And those are the ones that are being taught from within the house, that this is your culture, this is your faith, and this is what you have to do. You have to be able to, you have to stand up for it. You have to speak out for that which is right, and that which is true. Not just, rebel against, just be an activist for the sake of, because the government said so, because somebody said so. You have to do your research and due diligence to understand and to know what you're going to protest about, right? And there are things worth protesting about. And this is where people today are a little confused, you know, whereas they don't know where the line of where should we be drawing a line between how much we should allow, you know, external forces to come in and take that which is ours, and that which belongs to us is, you know, our right to have an opinion, our right to our faith, our right to disagree here in, let's say, in the Western world. And today, our right to disagree and our right to resist you if we disagree. And this is why every country in the world, you know, will never allow another invading force to come in there, and will always resist them. Because if they don't, they can never ask for it back. Once you give up your intrinsic right to disagree with any policy a government or another country is doing to you, you can't ask for it back. And if you do, it's almost invalid, because they'll say, well, look, you gave it up, dude. You did. You gave it up. We asked you for it. You gave it to us. You can't come back. Now it's ours. It's ours now. It's not yours anymore. Now it's ours. It belongs to us. You gave it up. It's very hard. It's very hard to take back that which you voluntarily gave, be it your country, be it, and this is why traitors are just traitors, be it your family. You gave up your family. You gave up your own personal rights to, you know, to resist your principles. You gave up your rights when your faith was attacked. When your house, let's say for example, somebody steps into your house. Now here in Canada, they'll tell you, you know, well, the leftists, at least the liberals, will tell you, you know, I don't know about defending yourself, and I'm pretty sure the conservatives eventually under the P is going to do the same thing. I mean, they're all following the same agenda. They don't want people to, you know, to defend that which is theirs. And, you know, somebody comes into your home and you do nothing about it. Well, this is what they want you to do, nothing about it. So they can come in and do whatever. Eventually they'll be telling you, you know, I want you guys to cook us a nice meal before we leave after we've robbed you, you know, as far as that. I mean, like, with no resistance whatsoever, with none. Nope, just run out of your house. Oh, okay, we're going to occupy your house. Basically, in the States, you do that and you run out of your house. Okay, you call the cops, and the cops will come in there, and it's your word against theirs. What are you talking about? They gave us the house. They gave us no resistance. They gave us the house. You know what you can argue with it today? You have, you know, just the fact that you can argue almost anything, and you will not find your right, you know, any justification for that which is yours, because this is how they're turning the law today, where, you know, it can drive you mad. It's insane. It's just unnatural, you know. This is why some states in the States, and rightfully so, they have the kingdom law, you know, and the right to protect their property. You know, there can be extremes at times, but I mean, the right to protect yourself and your family and your house is your right, and it still exists in Canada too. It does. But if you don't, you come in there, and you know, you came in there. You know, who's to say that they can say, well, you know what, they opened up the doors, we came inside, we didn't rob them. Yeah, we came inside, we were friends, or whatever. But I'm saying, no resistance? Well, it's very hard to get anything back of which you voluntarily gave away. This is why it's important today to teach kids, and it's the same thing, resistance against a bully. It goes down to the same thing. If you voluntarily allow somebody to just step all over you, you've given him the right to do so. Now, you can resist at certain times, but if you've done that, I mean, the psychological trauma that it does to you, it does to a person, especially kids, including adults, you know, is overwhelming. You know, what it does to a country, I mean, I don't know any country that, you know, just says, yeah, sure. Today's politicians, though, are doing it through the paper and pen, where they are basically tearing away at ethnic and cultural, you know, parts of what makes a country, and replacing them with that which is the global shit that is coming out of North America, you know, the porn, and the fad, the pop culture. You know, the people are raised on pop culture, and who determines pop culture? Is it the music business, or who's behind the music business? Or it's the movies? Is this? It's what's written in the magazines. This is pop culture, and this is what's being replaced, you know, in certain countries, and it's happening in Greece today. You know, where they're even introducing Halloween. Why we don't have our own Apokris dress-up theme? We do, and our dress-up theme is very cultural. There's a purpose behind that. But no, we are introducing now Halloween into it. Halloween? Do they even know what Halloween stands for? I mean, there's a lot of us over here that won't, who understood what Halloween was about and said, no, we're not going to celebrate Halloween. You can't serve both God and Mammon. You understand? You can't serve both the devil and God. So, and this is the thing, is like, for the sake of the party, the celebration, everybody's celebrating it. Let's all go out and celebrate. There's nothing wrong. It's candy with the kids. Well, do it 2 days later. Do it 2 days earlier. Just trying to say, you're giving it up yourself. And that mentality just says that I can move my goalposts as far as I want and create things, to my own delusion, just for the sake of a good time partying. Let's not disappoint the kids, and dump what initially belonged to us, which is our culture, our faith. We are replacing it. Now, what's happening in Greece today is they're voluntarily accepting this stuff. Very few Greeks are protesting it, and they are, but there's very few. The majority of society is caught up in we want to be the world, we are the world, we are the blah, blah, blah. And this is what they want. They want to be a part of the world. And what does that mean? Well, take a look at a country who used to be, who was known for their tenacity, for survival and for innovation and for creating things, and not material things, but based on principle, and for pushing orthodoxy out there. And now they're just the extreme backers of all things gone wrong, and we are the tail end. Greece has become the tail end of everything that is a fad from the West, a fad, and every bad fad that comes in there, from their talk shows, their TV shows. When you mimic something to the point, try to mimic something from somebody else, you go so overboard that it looks even worse, and it sounds worse, because you're trying to do a hell of a job, Jerry Springfield, oh no, they've got their own version, which is absolutely deplorable. I mean, the fact that these people will allow themselves, both presenters and the people participating, to go down to that level, just goes to show you how far down the cultural scale we have gone. I mean, like, there's zero self-esteem in that place. Zero. There's a lot of talk, but very zero. So, and this is what happens when people do not speak up against shit things that happen. For example, I was living in Greece when they started to introduce the Star Channel, channels that were beyond the regular RT1, R2, and whatever. They introduced the Star Channel, and the guy that brought in the Star Channel brought in even more of the crap of North America and the crap that was out of Germany. I mean, the really sadistic crap, perverted shit that came out. And I said, and I was watching there, I was looking at this, and I was sitting with friends, I go, I see what they're doing. They're going to introduce garbage into this country, and this country will go for it, instead of people fell for it because it was subtle. It came to the point where, it is now a part of that culture to have this garbage, distracting people, and them giving up their own personal cultural beliefs and becoming more and more Americanized. They voluntarily gave it up. They voluntarily get up their culture. Now you're going to tell me, well, the old saying where Greeks would come together at a time of, emergency and fight together and yada yada. That was an old saying, dude. That was for the old Greeks. The Greeks that believed had very similar beliefs. They believed in their faith. They believed in their family. They believed in their country. You understand? Those were those people that didn't have this tie to the materialistic world and the tie of the ties to garbage, the garbage that is being out there propagated, by Western society and accepted by the Greeks themselves. There is more and more of these people that'll go in there. They are voluntarily giving up the land. Voluntarily giving up the land. They themselves have participated in giving up the land because they've been bribed, you know. You vote for me and I'll put your kid in here, and you vote for me and I'll, you know, that house you wanted to get, that apartment building, I can help you out with that. And the whole country was bribed because, and this is why in ancient Greece they wouldn't allow just anybody to vote. They only wanted the educated ones, understood society, and were, you know, had a broader understanding, a non-bias, you know, opinion and stance on things. Whereas today's, they got everybody, you know, and say, hey, listen, poor guy, I'll put your daughter here, yeah, good job, you're my good job, yeah, I'll vote for you. And that guy destroyed, one after the other, destroyed the country more and more and more and more, to the point where we are now, you know, just giving it up ourselves. Morals, culture, faith. I mean, they've allowed the devil, they've opened the doors, you know, wide open for the devil to step in, and brought him in themselves and said, here you are, you know, here, no resistance whatsoever. We embrace what you have. We embrace the garbage that has come in. We will dump our own personal beliefs, and that's it. You know, even the War of 1821, the Greeks, there were professors actually out there, and not very bright professors. I don't know how they got their professorship, because I know other professors you know, debated them, or wanted to debate them, and they wouldn't debate these knowledgeable professors, you know. These clown professors would be allowed to teach at universities to say that, well, you know, the 1821 war was not so much a war for freedom. It was just more a war of, you know, a concept, you know. They were trying to, you know, take away that which was originally, you know, meant for. I mean, you know, we didn't fight for our freedom. No, we like being slaves to the Turks. Absolutely, we do. You know, and it was, you know, they tried to diminish the historical side of it, the cultural side of it, because once you do, you'll take away the fact that, you know, Kolokotroni, he would recite the Χαιρετισμούς Παναγίας, you know, I don't know how to say it in English. You know, he would pray. You know, he would do prayers to the, you know, to the, of course, to Christ. He would prayers, and he would supplications. I don't know if you can call it supplications. You know, to Mother Mary. I mean, he would do entire prayers before he would go in. You know, all these guys would. So, you know, we're not seeing this today. Today, we're watching politicians, you know, give away parts of our land, parts of our culture, parts of our boundaries and our borders, and our military doing absolutely nothing about it. So what does that mean? Oh, there's political, you know, stuff behind that, and, you know, you just can't do anything, and you can't just blah blah blah. That's blah blah blah. That is absolute blah blah blah. Because, like they used to say before, you know, a politician, for the right price, will sell his mother. That's what they're there for. You know, a king, they used to say, a king will not give a millimeter of his land away, because he considers it his land, right? A real king. A politician will sell it off at a decent price. And that's exactly what they've done, one after the other. So we have allowed, you have allowed, Greece, and the rest of us who give no resistance to anybody taking away that which belongs to you, from a personal standpoint to a country standpoint. You know, it's very hard to get it back. Very, very hard to get it back. Hence why you need to teach, you know, for the generations coming up, the value of resistance, to be strong enough to resist to begin with, and to know what they're resisting. I'm not just resisting anything. You know, I mean, like, look, now people are, you know, resisting common sense. So, all to say that 28th of October stood for a lot more than just, you know, fighting the fascists. It was, but that was just another event in the line of resistance, you know, that's important to have, that's important to maintain, and that which they're trying to take away from us. And they're doing it in elementary schools now to our kids, taking away their resistance, to be able to, to throw an opinion. Now they're being threatened. Now you give us an opinion, or you protest against this, and you're out. Who dictates this? You understand what I mean? The minute that you have to shut up so you can get a job, you're defeated. The minute you have to shut your mouth, so you can have this work, because they threaten, if you don't believe us and you don't follow this, well, you're living under, less than free scenario. So basically, that was just it, just to elaborate a little on what the importance of resistance is and how important it is to, to say no when you need to say no. Once you give it away, you can't ask for it back. And that goes for a lot of things, especially today in this free society where, governments are trying to turn laws, natural laws, into laws of madness. If people, and this is what it seems, people just don't give a shit, because people care more about their materials than anything else, than the principles, by which they live in. And that's going to come back to bite everybody in the butt, not just those that resisted, especially those that didn't resist. Because you'll notice that, the devil has no prejudice. He hates everyone equally. So that's basically what it is. So I hope, I'd like to say that, as we go on, we learn the lessons. Some people do. Some people are waking up to these lessons, and other people, prefer to be asleep on these lessons and just look at the leaves on a tree, and that's it, while the freedoms are being taken away. So in closing, I'd like to wish everybody a happy 28th of October, and may God have mercy on us all, and may the Mother of God, the Holy Virgin, protect all of us and intercede for us, because we are at desperate times and in trouble. So, have a great day. I'll talk to you guys soon.